that Heidi is ready just to give us a heads up, an update on what she's seeing and hearing, if there are any other developments. Heidi, once again, how's it looking from where you stand?
Yes, Tumelo, it's just a real scramble here. Sorry, ma'am, if I could just ask you, it's just a real scramble here at the moment because we're all trying to get officials, but it seems as though the MEC has arrived. We have to get our mics in because it's obviously very difficult. Just give me a second. Tumelo, just bear with us.
Okay. There's a guy that's going to help you. Go down, go down.
I think that's that.
All right, Heidi, as you, of course, try and make sure that those mics are connected and are ready to hear what the officials have to say. That's the Mayor, Kabelo Gwamanda. You can see him there alongside the MEC of Human Settlements in Gauteng, Lebogang Maile. Officials have arrived. I suppose they have assessed or not the situation so far. We're expecting them to address the media and tell us what they know so far, what the next steps look like, and if there's any updates so far and feedback from any emergency service feedback. So let's listen in and try to hear what the Mayor, Kabelo Gwamanda, is trying to say. And apologies for the technical difficulty. You can imagine the chaos at this time, trying to ascertain what he has to say. Let's listen in.
The first responder was alerted at 2:30, early hours of this morning, of a fire that broke out. At the time, it was 2 floors that were affected, but gradually the fire we have 100, I think 41 families that have been displaced, and then 40 people that are in hospital. We'll be going there to assess the extent of their injuries, to go and evaluate as to how, as government, we can augment the kind of services that they are getting and the facilities in which they are being held. We are here as government to demonstrate the fact that we want to be there to resolve the situations of our residents. Of Johannesburg, the inner city in particular, has got quite a number of challenges, and we can acknowledge that much. It is unfortunate that we have to keep responding to situations of this nature, where a building is leased for the purpose of rehabilitating society because it was an NGO that specifically women. The building ended up serving a different purpose. So we are here with Human Settlement, EMS, in the form of the MMC of Public Safety, to respond.
So, Mr. Mayor, are you confirming that this building was hijacked?
Wait. Order, please.
So before you start with the questions, I will give to the MEC to speak to the issue of settlement.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. You are anxious about hijacked building. They will answer you. But I think, firstly, we must convey our condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones. And as the Mayor has said, this is a tragedy of monumental proportions. And it's unfortunate that today we are here. And this for us demonstrate a chronic problem of housing in our province. As we've previously said, that there's at least 1.2 million people who need housing in our province. We have also had discussions with the Mayor and the MMCs about buildings that might, or rather hijacked buildings. The city, through its entity JOSCO, knows of the buildings that they own, about 23 of those, which will need to be developed, but they also know of about 100 buildings that might not have owners, and we have agreed that we need to have a intergovernmental, comprehensive, integrated approach of dealing with this, so that we don't have to come back in future dealing with a tragedy of these proportions. As the provincial government, we will also be working with the city. My colleague MEC for Social Development and Agriculture, Mbani Hlophe, is here as well. There will be an intergovernmental, and the MMC for Social Development is here in the city, so there will be social relief. We have already identified 3 buildings that the surviving victims will be allocated to, and we have agreed that we are not going to deal with people on the basis of their nationality.
Yes.
At this point, anybody who's affected, we are going to give humanitarian assistance. So that question must not even arise, whether people are South African or not. At this point, it doesn't matter. This is a tragedy that affects people irrespective of their nationality. So we have agreed that we are going to deal with that. There are other issues which would like the media to be sensitive, because at this point we are dealing with a tragedy and we must focus on the intervention that the emergency services, the police, Department of Health and all other authorities are dispensing. There will be a properly arranged press conference that will probably have the city, probably the premier and the mayor, to deal with the issues in detail of human settlement, informal settlement, issues of urbanization, issues of funding for infrastructure, because those issues have always been on the agenda, and it's not like they have not been attended to by the 3 spheres of government. So at this point we thought it would be important to inform society that something is being done, and how many people are affected and what is it that the government will be doing. So we will take questions, but we want to ask you to take into consideration the fact that there will be a properly arranged press conference, hopefully in the next 2 days or 3 days, Mayor, the province and the city, to deal with all the different aspects, because the MMC of Safety was also briefing us of the work that they've done and the successes that they've made. And we would want to take the media as well, so that there is no impression created that there is no work done by the city and by the province. But we would not want to use this occasion to do that. Today we want to convey our condolences, and we want to assure society that we are attending to this crisis and this tragedy, and we will be from here going to the hospitals to visit the surviving victims.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You'll be number 1. Just be short and brief. But if your question is covered, don't repeat it. Ne? Just be short and brief, because you are too many. Please, complete.
Perhaps I missed the mayor talking about it. Alpha from Eyewitness News.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, we've had this issue of illegal buildings for quite some time. In fact, when Kunene was acting mayor, landed in the wrong books of evicting people. What exactly is stopping the city from, implementing these efforts to tackle this crisis?
What is preventing the city from implementing its efforts to preventing this nature? And you're talking about evictions in particular.
Just illegal occupation of buildings.
Illegal occupations. Look, we are making strides, right? My MMC of Public Safety is here. He'll give you just a short briefing, because what we have done in the past, we may have contravened certain laws in terms of providing alternative accommodation in particular. And you would understand that there are quite a number of non-profit organizations that have a keen interest on the city's approach towards evicting buildings. So as this current administration, we are taking a more prudent approach, and we are not going there with brute force. We are trying to apply a maximum sensitive strategy. That's why the MEC, as well as the Minister of Human Settlement, we had a conversation, and they were alluding to the fact that, Mayor, you have quite a number of buildings that we can, as intergovernmental relations, we can activate in terms of providing alternative and social housing, because many of the city employees themselves are looking for the same access that we have to create. So the issue of how the government used to evict people and how we are going to implement the strategy of, I don't want to say evicting, but providing alternative accommodation so that we can repurpose these buildings for these kind of social housing is what we are particularly dealing with. And just to give you a brief highlight, tomorrow, it's just unfortunate that today's council, and we had this unfortunate and tragic event. I have set up a sub-mayoral committee that is focused on the inner city in particular, the re-establishment and repurposing of these buildings that are here, and a very, like I said, humanitarian approach on how we treat the citizens in the city of Johannesburg, because you have to take into account it's not only those that find themselves in dilapidated buildings, but those that are on the streets as well, of which we have shelters that they are unwilling to occupy at this point, but the shelters are there fully functional. So the element of how we enforce our bylaws is an issue that the MMC of Public Safety is very passionate about, and most of the time I need to remind him of our competency as local government, so that we do not find ourselves in a situation where we are contravening certain laws in us trying to deliver to a discomfort that the country has, because this is not just our problem as government, it's a collective problem, because the people are occupying these buildings are our citizens. So if we cannot be considerate of the fact that our attempts are to also assist them in relocation and to also restore our city to its former glory, for lack of a better analogy, we will not get anywhere. So we need to unite, and we need to understand and join in a common purpose. The press briefing that the MEC had alluded to is where we will give you critical pointers of what our area of focus is going to be in the form of this sub-mayoral committee that is focused on the redevelopment of the inner city in the city of Johannesburg. I hope I've covered your answer, colleague.
And maybe just to add a very critical issue, Mayor. There are cartels who prey on poor, vulnerable people, because some of these buildings, if not most of them, are actually in the hands of those cartels who collect rental from our people. And that makes a point that some of these people who are in these buildings can afford to pay.
Yes.
Therefore, government must create a stock for rental, because that is affordable. Yes. That's why our collaboration with the city and entities like Josco is to ensure that we make that stock available. Just last week Friday, we were launching a program for rental stock in Riverside with the minister and the mayor as part of the work that we are continuing to do. So it's not like we are not doing anything. It's not like we are saying we must still. We are already doing that work. I thought I should add that.
Yeah. Wait. Order, please. Order. SAPC.
Just take them involved with these cartels, because you speak of cartels, but where are the police to stop these cartels from happening and robbing people?
Yeah, but the police are here, and the police people must report.
That, yeah.
People must report, and then the police. You would have seen someone was talking about one of the MMCs who was acting on that day. He was with the police. So it's not like the police are not doing anything. The question is whether they're doing enough or not. And I think they are competent to answer for themselves, so that you don't want to me to attack the police unjustifiably without any facts. But from where I'm sitting, I know they are doing their level best. Whether their level best is enough, that's a question which we would have to engage them on.
Okay. Yes, SAPS.
My colleague Eldon just spoke with Seri just now, and they claim that this building is still owned by the city and that they have not abandoned it. Can we get a response to that? The allegations was that they are the NGO that was in charge of this building for abandoned buildings.
Okay, so I think it's a misrepresentation, because I think Seri is an organization that deals with human rights in particular. Yes. So I don't think the question was proper. But what I can confirm, as a matter of fact, is that the building does belong to the city. It was not sold; it was leased to an NGO to in fact run the non-profit organization to house women that needed to be given relief of some sort. Yes, and that's when things escalated out of control. Because remember, when the city leases a building, whoever is taking responsibility needs to make sure that the building is well kept, that they can return it to the city in condition in which they found it in. But I cannot be able to project and predict how a business would then find itself in a situation where it's abandoning its operation for one reason or the other. So that's where we are right now as the city, yes.
Heidi Jacques from eNCA.
Oh, that's the last question,
It's Heidi Jacques from eNCA. Sorry, I couldn't hear because there was a scramble here, but is it confirmed that this building is hijacked, firstly? Secondly, if you're telling me that this building is owned by the city and it was leased, is it not the city's responsibility to check on what's happening at the building? Like, this building, we were told that there's informal settlements inside the building. Is it not your responsibility to check what's happening here?
Okay, so I'll answer to one of your questions, right? Yes, it is owned by the city. You are correct. The second question you said, is it not the city's responsibility to do its maintenance?
To check on the building, yes.
To check. Look, the building, the city, through other departments, did check. EMS did check. So there's one building, and unfortunately we started, what is it called? The one that we recovered. We started with that one before we could come back to this.
Was the one at the Benin Court and the Casamias.
So let me allow the MMC of Public Safety to tell you about what
you should answer to
No, that's not a dialogue, please.
It's not a
Just
dialogue.
respect the mayor.
The MMC of Finance of Public Safety is underway with a program of seizing some of the buildings that have been reported or that is suspected that they have been hijacked. This is one of the buildings that the committee was supposed to have been dealing with. So it's unfortunate that they were overtaken by that. I want the MMC...
73 people have died.
They have died, and it's a tragedy. And it's not for me and you to debate about the fact that people have lost their lives here.
No, sorry, Mayor. I need to ask. The city owns this building. Therefore, it's the city's responsibility to check on the building. If the building has been hijacked, is it not your responsibility? Do you not find this to be an indictment on the city of Johannesburg?
No, but Heidi...
Hold on, I'm still asking my question.
How many questions have you been asking, Heidi?
Because you're not answering the question.
Which is what?
Which is it not the responsibility of the city to check on this building? It's been hijacked. There's informal settlements inside the building. 73 people have died. And you're telling me that it was leased out. And it's unfortunate.
No, but the city has been doing its work. They've done the check. I told you, Heidi, the city, when it came in, did this government, they've done their checks and their raids. As the mayor said, we have closed them. A success is actually happened right now at the Metro building at Hillbrook, through the intervention of all the stakeholders, even EMS and everyone other buildings. That building, we managed to seize it from the people. So that the program there is with the mayor and the CM. They are actually there. That's why I'm saying that, and the mayor is saying, the leadership, it's unfortunate that this is actually, this actually happened here. But another thing is that all the NGOs that are there, the Siri and them, can they please come to the party? Because they're litigating. They said that they are going to arrest us because we're telling them that let's close these buildings because there's a lot of fire that is happening. There's no electricity. There is no, so they need to be closed. But what they do, they go to court. And I said, come to the party. Let's sit together. With the MMC Leach was there. We did an audit at the Casamia. That's why we know that currently that the people who are staying there can afford. And I said that why are you not going? We have a proof. Then in court, we did that with the MMC Leach and the leadership here. But you know what happens? Siri and the lawyers, they are litigating us. We are always in court and said, let us come together and sit and talk. But what we did with the strategy that the mayor and the CM have actually came up with, we managed to implement that at the Metro Center building. We said, we called everyone in and we checked, we said, listen, we can't move all of you. We're going to do it piece by piece, floor by floor. It happened there. So it's actually happening, but very slow. But we said, instead of us now, leadership, of blaming each other, right now, there is a plan in place. And the press conference, it will come, and the leadership of Promise will come in, will tell you what have we done, and the successes that we've done, and the frustrations. It's really, really sad for us. This actually had to come to actually this. There are many of them, we know. But we are doing something. One, we've actually done it, and we said there are that we've seen all of them. We've done the checks. We have reports from the EMS, from every GFITs. They've been working day in, day out. But they are, instead of them being able to take people out, they are taken to court every time. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah, hang on. Yeah, maybe, Heidi. Yeah. Maybe I must say this. Because the province is a competence authority for human settlement, and we have delegated that function to the city. Yes. So that's a very important point. The second thing is the mayor and the MMCs and ourselves in the discussion we had, we have agreed that we are not going to defend anyone. If there's an official of the city who will be found to have contravened or who to have neglected their responsibilities, heads will definitely roll. And that's why we're saying now to you, Heidi, that we are going to have a proper sit down with the media and deal in details, because I've just said now there's about 23 buildings that the Johannesburg Housing Company owns, and they are like this, and they have a plan for that. They don't have money for. There's about 100 buildings that are owned by the private sector and they are neglected. So we have to be decisive in how we deal with that. And one of the things might be to expropriate those buildings so that we can be able to house people. As you know, housing is a big problem in our province, not just in this city. So we would not want to create an impression that we are perfect, we have solutions to all the problems, and that there are no problems. Hence, we always say we are prepared to engage with you as the media, and whatever limited resources at our disposal must be utilized efficiently and impactfully. So I would ask that we give the city that space to be able to come back and respond. They will give responses to the public. They know we are all accountable. We have no choice. It is our responsibility as elected officials in these two spheres of government.
You said there are cartels that are taking rent from these buildings, and you have said that at least you know about 30 buildings that this is happening. Are you telling me that you do not know who's taking rent from these people, and why is something not being done to arrest them? If you say you know that in this building, this is happening.
Yeah, but you're asking a question that was asked by this gentleman. That's the problem. Okay, it's fine. Now I understand. Yeah, I said, I didn't say 30 buildings like that. I said 23, one. So that's the first thing. Those are owned by Johannesburg, the city. They own them. It's their building. They know about them, their state, and
Right, MEC of Human Settlements in the province, that is Mawela, still addressing the media there alongside the Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda. But we're still at the scene of the tragedy that took place in the early hours of this morning. You can see the breaking story there in the strap. 73, that's the number at this point, which has risen from 64. Thus, the number of fatalities recorded.